Welcome, traders. My name is Adam from Trade with Precision, and welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Charts. Kicking off with the US dollar index. So first thing I want to do, it is significant. We are expecting a rate cut from the Fed this coming week. And traditionally, and based on fundamentals, we tend to see a currency weaken when we get rate cuts. Now, it gets interesting because, first of all, it is overextended to the downside and potentially due for a little bit of a bounce. We've also got a bit of bullish divergence. And then, of course, we get the rate cut coming. So why I mention this is because we could see a breakout of this range that we've been stuck in for a while, or we could obviously at this time see a rejection and a bounce and see price potentially start to work its way back up. So this week, I just want to be cautious and prepared for the dollar to be able to move either way. But generally speaking, we would expect it to break outside of the box, and let's see how that plays out. Now, having a look at the euro dollar. Euro dollar, on the other hand, is looking a little bit more bullish. It is starting to escape its range. It's pulled down, produced a nice bullish candle on the weekly. The 50, 20, and 10 moving averages are in a nice bullish formation, and so I'm going to be monitoring a break of the high or the low of this weekly candle. That will likely give me a clue as to which way the rest of the week is likely to go. And yes, in its current format in isolation off the right-hand side of the chart, it is looking more bullish than bearish. If I have a look at cable, for example, just zoom in at that. Here you can see we've got a very nice uptrend here on the pound against the US dollar. We've also got a nice little pullback into a previous high. So it's a beautiful breakout and a retest and a little bit of a sort of a doji slash bullish candle forming here. So again, this leans towards a bullish outcome. We've got the MACD trending higher. So it's very likely here that the trend, especially if we break the high of this, we're going to see a continuation of the trend to the upside. Now, continuing on, looking at the Australian dollar against the US dollar, especially here, we also, again, are range bound when we look at it from a weekly perspective. But again, if we zoom in and we have a look at it a bit closely, you can see we've produced this beautiful bullish candle. And again, a break above the high would indicate that we're going to see an attempt to break outside of this range. So a lot of the candles here are showing just leaning that a little bit more towards a weaker US dollar. If we have a look at dollar CAD, and again, this is where this gets interesting. It's very much so stuck within a range over here, but has been producing slightly higher lows recently. And again, here is actually leaning towards a stronger US dollar. So this is interesting, but we have no clear trend at the moment. It is very much range bound. I want to see this week if, in fact, what happens is that price, especially if we look at it from a daily time frame, price is pulling back into a level of support. Do we find resistance here? Do we find that that weaker dollar does come in? We would then see dollar CAD start to head lower. So lots potentially at play there. Dollar yen as well now. So dollar yen, of course, has very much got that pressure. We know the Bank of Japan have been wanting to change the direction of the dollar yen, and it appears as though they are achieving that. So for now, I am more bearish on dollar yen than anything else. I'm looking for any kind of pullbacks into the moving averages and then looking for shorting opportunities. Just noting a little bit of bullish divergence over here. So it could be a bit overextended on the weekly, but for the most part, my expectation is that this bearish trend will continue to the downside. Now moving on to gold. Gold has had a very strong week the last week, and of course it's not that overextended. We had a very, very nice breakout of resistance and a breakout. So what I'd like to see this week is any kind of a pullback, which could potentially provide me with an entry opportunity if it does indeed decide to test resistance here. From a weekly perspective, it doesn't look that overextended. My only concern is, of course, the monthly time frame to see if potentially we're going to continue up from that. It is becoming quite overextended. It's one of the longest periods in recent decades where I've seen it run for such a long period without a correction. So it is at some point in the near future is going to be due for a bit of a correction, a much higher time frame correction. But this week, any kind of a pullbacks for me would represent buying opportunities. Now, if we move on to the Dow, so the Dow also had a very strong recovery. I spoke previously about September's traditionally being bearish. We're still not clear of December. Okay, so there is a possibility, yes, the market could still have a correction, but I must say, technically speaking, the markets are looking very bullish. The Dow did break to a new low and then, of course, pushed up by the end of the week. The NASDAQ as well, by the way, also rejecting the bears and closing higher as well. It's an inside bullish candle, and there is a little bit of indecision here if we just kind of mark this out. But let's see this week whether we break the high or the low. Certainly, there's a lot of bullish appetite, but I want to really be more comfortable once we get past September. So just being prepared for more volatility when it comes to the global markets. Now, again, you can also see we had a little bit of a recovery when we look at the Nikkei, a little bit of a bounce off a level of support. We had previously a very nice strong rejection at that level. I want to see this week if we do manage to continue that push to the upside. And then just finishing off here, just a reiteration of how nice the bond markets are looking at the moment. Some very nice, strong, stable trends. And I'm looking for any kind of pullbacks here into the moving averages. Again, that 50, 20 and 10 in a nice bullish formation. The quality of the trend looking pretty good. I'm looking for any kind of pullbacks here to provide me with potential entries into these trends. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with that. Remember to keep an eye on the economic calendar news where there might be volatility injected into the markets, especially, as I said, that rate cut, which will be likely in the middle of the week, and otherwise to keep calm and carry on trading.